Oh, shit. Hold fire. Here we go. So I was trying to do multiple things there during the countdown, and I was looking for an overlay, and I saw Joe, and it wasn't the preview images weren't loading, so I was like, "That's me, yes, Joe." My one is Joe overlay, so I'd been owned by the StreamYard. Although I do like the running bit of me if I do the intro twice. How is everyone? It is Monday, March 21st. We have a lot of things to talk about. And by that, I mean we have very little to talk about, but it's, a day, so we're going to do a show anyway. I did watch the Crockett Cup, which we're going to talk about kind of broadly. Not going to be a match-by-match review because that'd be fucking insane. Talk a little about the Cody news, which was not really news, but again, it's Monday, we've got to do something, right? So it's going to be those topics. But as is always the case, this show will be very much shaped by your comments and questions. And via the live chat there, you could even send a super grin, a grinner chat, whatever we're calling these things, at streamlabs.com/late night grin, where if you have a question that just needs asking, somehow you're sitting there sweating bullets and waiting for all day to figure out who won the Crockett Cup. You can't use Google. You need me to tell you. Then you could use streamlabs.com/late night grin. But honestly, if you have a question, I'll probably get to it anyway. I don't think many people are going to be here because it's us talking about the Crockett Cup. So there you go. Jason here with a good one. He says, it's Monday. We've got to do something. The Raw Booker's mantra. That's a good one. Fair play. Elliot here dunking on me, which is also fair. JJ's watching WrestleMania 13. There's lots of Must Be Monday comments. There's lots going on. So Bobby here is in the chat, and I don't know if he's announced this yet on the socials, but we are not doing Fed Dead Redemption today because Bobby forgot to watch the Fed, which in many ways is the greatest indication yet that there is a dead Fed up there in Stamford, Connecticut, but he did not watch it really. So we didn't have much to talk about. So here we are doing this. Tonight on Patreon, maybe in about 4 or 5 hours, I'm going to do a Grin along. I think we're going to promote the Grin Grappler a little bit and do some bonus Samoa Joe matches. But I kind of thought that we may just do the Punk match. So we'll talk it all through. My friend Akash Sharma is here. And he says, was going to ask in the group chat. That is a group chat in which the other person in the group does not talk. So it's just us two texting each other directly in a group chat. But might as well do it here. Why did Cody leave AEW? Wasn't he like the Triple H of it? Well, there perhaps you find your answer, Akash, because much like Triple H, Codeman apparently was fucking owned in the internal structure of the promotion. It appears that he lost his creative power and say so. It appears he may have been slightly disrespected by the offer that was put on the table for him when it came to the contract extension. I think his overall importance in the promotion had diminished due to the major acquisitions such as Punk, Danielson, even Cole, so on and so forth. So effectively you had a guy that everything told you should have been the top guy in the promotion, but in reality was just kind of floating around in his own little world. So it was a weird situation. They seem to disagree on his value to AEW. He is headed back to WWE, which is today's news. We will circle back to later, but I do appreciate you giving me some content here, Akash, in the first few minutes of this program. I have considered, Dukes brings it up, I have considered that he needs to feed his family, which obviously I'm rooting for him to do that. I'm sure it was really hard getting paid millions of dollars to be in AEW. I don't want to comment on anyone's profession. God forbid. This is bullshit. Go fuck yourself, man. I'm not putting you over. Don't throw me a bone like that and then ask to be put over on this program, Akash, okay? All right, you get what you get. Okay, let's do Crockett Cup. Let's talk about Code Man. But along the way, if you have a question, just throw it in there. I'll stop all conversation and talk about it if it is interesting. If I miss it, that does not mean it isn't interesting. You get my point. You mean to tell me Bob didn't? Bob, I think Bob stopped watching WWE, to be totally honest. But you get what you get, I suppose. All right, the Crockett Cup. Now, this was an event I want to make this very clear now because I'm very much aware that someone that works in that promotion may see this. That happens more than you would believe, especially for a program like this that, quite frankly, hang on a second, that quite frankly was not widely viewed, I think it's fair to say. I actually looked a couple of hours ago for a review and I didn't see hardly any for the Crockett Cup. So I want to make this clear up front. I paid for this event. I paid for the bundle. Had a power over to watch on Saturday. Watched last night's show on delay. Caught up with it this morning a little bit. So I'm not coming at this from a place of dunking. I actually bought this show because my thing here is I cover these weird promotions more than I cover a WWE or a New Japan. So that's my thing. I am not trying to dunk or be mean. I paid my actual human money for this. Fight, if you'd like to give me codes in future, please do. But I'm waiting for that for 2 years and I've yet to get any. So I feel like my chances are very slim. Now, I want to start this by really encapsulating what it is that I want to talk about here, which is this. Chat. Simple question. Did you watch the Crockett Cup? Answer yes or no. I genuinely think there's a chance that not one person in the chat, there's 33 of you here, saw this show. So yes or no, did you watch the NWA Crockett Cup? Either night one or night two, I don't mind. Did you watch this tag team extravaganza? Okay, we start off with 5 no's. And there are some gentlemen involved in those that, nope, we have not got one yes so far. Wow, this is an extraordinary visual. If someone could screenshot this, it's hilarious. My absolute favorite is when like pals that I don't see the name of in the chat because they just watch, which God bless, I'm the same way. When they feel the need to type an answer because like, no, I want to make this clear, I didn't watch this shit either. Okay, we have one yes. Our pal Kiwi he watched night 1 and then just the Woman's Freeway on night 2. Other than that, it is nopes all around. There is an absolutely goddamn not. And so I kind of assumed that to be the case when I was on social looking at the talk about the event and kind of reading about it and all that good stuff. Most of the tweets about the Crockett Cup were fans that gave off a particular kind of vibe. And I think they could have put anything on the show and they'd have liked it because they like what this brand represents, which fair play, I get it, God bless, but there is a lesson in that, and I didn't see any buzz on the timeline. I could have scrolled freely without getting spoilers. And that feels like a great indication of where the promotion's at because, quite frankly, you can laugh, and you're entitled to laugh if you want to. Matt Cardona and Nick Aldis is about as big a match as they can do realistically on this roster. Again, you can laugh at that, you can dunk on it, you can dismiss it, but that is actually the truth. And when you see that and you pair it with a tag team tournament that has the Briscoes in it, granted not a lot else, but the Briscoes, it's kind of telling, I think. That carried over to the overall vibe, which didn't have a particularly grand or epic feel to it, I have to say. Especially night 1. Night 1 struggled in a major way in that regard. It did not feel like big time pro wrestling, which is not saying that puts me off. I have no issue with that, but it was a real thing. The atmosphere on night 1 was a problem. It improved on night 2 because I'm pretty sure they sold more tickets for night 2. It looked that way anyway. It felt like a bigger deal on night 2 because, quite frankly, the lineup was more interesting, which, again, relatively speaking. I do have to say this, and I'm not trying to put the boots to anyone because I know they get enough tweets about this. Commentary is a problem. It's been a problem now for about a year. I don't even know if they've been back for a year, but it's been a problem since I've been coming in and out of this thing. It's a real challenge. I don't think this is a particularly good team. And I think it kind of exacerbates some of the product's problems to begin with, which is a shame. Now, night one, I have to say, was a complete, like, I want to say a nothing, but basically. And when you do a 2-night event, the challenge is, how do we make night one feel as important as night two? They didn't really try that here. I really would have recommended that what they did instead was that they trimmed the bracket, less matches, tournament matches, and spread the title matches across both nights, giving both nights some sense of gravity. Instead, night one had the first 2 rounds of the tournament and nothing else, and everything felt like a mid-card match, from top to bottom. Now, I will say there was only a couple things on this first night that I would say qualified as truly bad wrestling. A lot of it, though, was just very steady, mediocre, missable 2 3/4 pros having matches in front of vaguely disinterested crowds. I was actually talking to my friend about this, and I was saying a lot of these guys, because of the talent pool that NWA picks from, they're not incompetent, a lot of these guys. What they are is somewhat uninteresting, bland, generic, unmotivated in some cases, whatever it may be. So you get these matches that are kind of just paint by numbers, and Andrew isn't wrong. That can be my favorite wrestling of all. But in this case, even I saw the flaws of it. But I said, a lot of talent would do the same in this setting. It isn't necessarily an indictment. It is what it is. But there are some guys that even in this setting would stand out. The Briscoes were a great example of that. God bless Fandango. I have not seen him work that hard in some time. I mean, way back. NXT, I guess he did work hard, but that's the last time. The Briscoes pulled some energy out of him. They got some spirit out of him, and they had good matches with every team they wrestled in this tournament. They stood out a mile on night one. I like the idea of Harry Smith and Doug Williams, the team. Poor Doug had some scary moments on these shows, but I like them. The champs look really on a good. There's some fine teams here, but unfortunately, on a whole, if you just watch night two, you missed nothing of note. And they didn't do a very good job of capturing the idea that it was a mega double event. It was more just, if you really like this shit, here's night one, which is a shame. Now, night two, as I said, better in terms of vibe and atmosphere. It was better. There was more people there, so on and so forth. This very much was further evidence of what we talked about, or what I just talked about, and what we've talked about before about the Briscoes. I'm not here to be a buffoon and kind of beat the drum about them in AEW. I think that decision is perfectly logical, and I'm not here to, do 2 wrongs make a right. That is what it is. However, what I will say is they are one of the best tag teams in the world, and this tournament may have been the most kind of leading evidence I could provide in that regard, because they had some matches on these 2 shows where they got matches out of these teams that should not be having good matches. And the aforementioned Harry and Doug team, the Commonwealth Connection, I mean, that was the final, the Briscoes versus Commonwealth Connection, and they had a genuinely good match. I mean, like 3 3/4 range, a real match. And bless Doug, he's older, and Harry's, but they did that. Their first match of the night was with Mike Knox and VSK. And while that was lesser because it was the semi-final, also pretty damn good. The Briscoes were spectacular here. They are currently in a kind of rare form where everything that happened with Ring of Honor appears to have motivated them to really make every night count. Everywhere I see them, they're having they're doing their absolute damnedest to have the best match on the show. So, God bless them. They were great here. They were obvious winners of the tournament. I assume they'll do a title program, I guess, with La Rebellion. And it feels like based on what's going on with their careers elsewhere, they may be sticking around in NWA, I think. So, I don't know, but all I would say is that if you watch this tournament, you would probably have got a pretty good indication of what I've referenced before about just how good they are as a tag team. And again, that ain't me sitting here doing they should be signed. I get it. 100% I get it. But as a tag team, you can't argue with their body of work. Okay, other headlines here. We just kind of do broad strokes. The junior heavyweight title, which they've resurrected. This was the inaugural, I guess, the Not quite because it's been, but you get what I'm saying. They brought it back. They did a tournament. It was a fatal four-way. It was Darius Lockhart, Homicide, Colby Carino, and Austin Aries. I like 3 of the guys in this match, but it felt obvious to me who should win it, right? And I'm assuming you guys were not. I'm talking about Darius Lockhart. From day one, it felt like he was the obvious choice for this and the correct choice for it. If you're going to put him in the tournament, he wins the tournament. Personally, I think he should be just challenging for the world title, but they do things the way they do them. It reminded me a lot, actually, of when they put Ricky in the TV title tournament. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, I guess you could have Colby win and Darius chases him. And I thought that would be a pretty good program, and that interests me some. So I was like, okay. Instead, unfortunately, they had Homicide win. And listen, if you know anything about me, I ain't here to be critiquing or pushing back on a Homicide title win. I mean, I love the guy; he's a legend. But that was an interesting choice here. I know that he's an agent for them too, so maybe it's a case of that's just the guy they know is going to be around. In which case that happens sometimes. But with that being said, that was an interesting choice. It was his birthday, so I don't really want to sit here and be mean about it. But Darius Lockhart should be winning this belt. The only way you come out of this not looking dumb is if Darius, goes after that world title next. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I think they've shown a real inability to capitalize on guys like this. Guys have that kind of indie credibility. They also get a little bit of buzz with the audience they have, whatever that is at this point. And I think Ricky was a decent example. King was definitely a good example. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love Homicide. I just do not think at this point in his career and life, he is the best representation of junior heavyweight wrestling in 2022. Do I think he has a role to play? Absolutely. As long as he wants to do that, he can do it. But I'm not sure about this particular fit, I have to say, which is a shame. This is probably the best way to put it. From Reese, the NWA is the only promotion to have hold it down on Homicide winning. And yeah, that's about the best way to sum it up. Yeah. Okay. Elsewhere, I want to compliment the women, particularly the tag match was fine, but particularly the triple threat title match. Kylie Ray, Chelsea Green, and Camille, who actually turned out a really fun, spirited triple threat match for the belt. And it wasn't one that jumped off the page to me, I have to be honest. I think Kylie Ray's great. Chelsea Green, very hit or miss for me. And Camille is someone that I think actually has shown a lot of potential when in the right scenario and kind of paired correctly with the right opponent. They actually killed it here. I thought they did one hell of a job. It was the modern triple threat, but they actually got over some individual unique characteristics too. I like the way that Kylie's personality showed through, and she even, she even backstabbed Camille at one point. I like the way they all sold Camille's power, so on and so forth. I have to say, Chelsea Green is someone who is very divisive, and I understand that. The last couple of times I've seen her at NWA, she's been as good as I've ever seen her perform. She had a match with Kenzie Page. It was the same exact thing. She looks really confident in this setting. I don't know why that is. More so than she does elsewhere when I've seen her in the last, 6 months when she got out of WWE. It's really interesting watching her wrestle like this. Like she was damn good in this match, and she was good in that one I just mentioned. So this was a massive hit. I like the finish. This to me was a good example of doing some bullshit and screwing the babyface without making the crowd roll their eyes. I thought it was an actual good finish that made you want to see Kylie continue that climb. I assume they're going in that direction. I could also see them doing Chelsea Green so that the Cardona thing carries on. But my guess is that you're going to have Kylie Ray chase Camille. I mean, we all like Kylie Ray. Everyone roots for her. But she's damn good inside the rope. So this was a highlight on show 2 of the title matches. This definitely delivered. I liked it a lot. I'll look at the chat here. I agree Homicide will do guest spots. Feels like he'll be involved in Ring of Honor for sure. Yeah, this is fair, totally. The one thing I would say is I don't get the sense they disagree. which is what makes me think this is a case of who they believe will be around. Homicide is what now, mid-40s? I think they're aware of his limitations at this point. God, love the guy, not a knock. But yeah, I think it's more. I have to assume it's a case of who they expect will be there, in 2 months' time. But where Darius is expected to be signing, I don't know. That's what makes it weird. Honestly, I'm probably giving them too much credit. They're just incompetent. I don't know, but it's a shame. You think Homicide and Hernandez could be a team in NWA? Man, I don't know. They were a great team 15, 16 years ago. I think both guys are at very different points in their life physically. I think Homicide can definitely be valuable as like the veteran of a team, but alongside a more limited older guy, I don't think so. No, I mean on the NWA they can, but like, would it be good? No. I think Kylie is happy at NWA, so she should push her. Absolutely, she's great. Miss having Kylie on a show I like. She rules. Factual. All this is factual. Chelsea Green, Britt Baker, Deonna Purrazzo feels like a great fit for a faction instead of what Britt hasn't going on right now. It'd be interesting for sure. Twitter, they would get real heat on Twitter. That'd be something. Bob would get us some tweets, I'm sure. Okay. I could see Homicide and Hernandez in Blood and Guts, but again, I don't know. Hernandez, I'm not sure. Not sure he's got that in him. I have my doubts about Homicide, but Hernandez, I'm really not sure. Okay, finally, let's talk about this, and then other than that, we'll kind of just see if you guys have any questions. I know no one saw it, so I don't want to bore everyone. Nick Aldis, Matt Cardona. The main event, the title match that they set up here when Cardona won the belt from Trevor Murdoch. They did a promo segment. They did a nice sit down on Power Surge, in which I thought Aldis was pretty damn good, actually. And this was a lot of things combined here. So you had obviously the Jeff Jarrett situation with him as the special guest referee, which resulted in quite the finish. I mean, I was going to say like Attitude Era WWF, but honestly, there was some Jeff TNA in there, so I'm sure he enjoyed doing it. There was a lot going on, which we'll get to. As for the match itself, I think it was another case of something that I've kind of struggled with in like trying to be analytical about Cardona. I really admire what he's done, and I respect it a lot, but I do think there is a hurdle of sorts between my respect and appreciation for what he's done and actually enjoying the final product. This match, to be very clear, was not bad. I quite liked elements of it. I thought Aldis was good here. I'm not, sitting here saying it was the shits or it was bad. I'm not doing that. What I am saying is I do not know how often Cardona can do NWA title matches, because this one had every bell and whistle possible, and it still, for me, was like a little bit of a stretch of his skill set. Which is a shame, because there's a lot to be said for him as champ, but at the same time, no one in this chat watched the show, so maybe it isn't actually that effective after all. I don't know, but that was striking to me. It was like, I don't know what kind of legs this really has, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, they had the story of Jeff as referee, not allowing it to be shenanigans. He wouldn't let Cardona walk out. Tim Storm threw him back in, and that popped me, so on and so forth. There was pieces to like about this match. There was pieces not to like. Ultimately, I thought they did a good job for what it was. I didn't expect it to be a Matt Classic. I don't think anyone did. But the finish was insane. I mean, it was crazy enough to make me think about conceptually what they were trying to achieve. Because for those of you who don't know, which is all of you apparently, they had like Cardona's guys run in, and then the Commonwealth Connection run in. They brawled. Jeff punched VSK, which got a huge pop, and then he threw him out. And then when Jeff's back was turned, this is already after something else they did with the referee, I forget. Chelsea Green low blowed him. Mickie James came in while Jeff was selling him, threw Chelsea out. Jeff turned around and saw Mickie, thinking she was the one that low blowed him. So then when Aldis put the submission on Cardona and Cardona was tapping, Jeff rings the bell, the crowd pops, new champ. In reality, he's disqualifying Aldis because he thinks Mickie James punched him in the dick. I promise you, That was my most like restrained, concise version of what happened. I could not have been more, quick with what happened. That's actually what happened. It was that much going on. Right? So, the crowd rolled their eyes and booed, and like it's difficult because here's my question, genuine question. I know none of you can answer it, but I have to ask this question out loud to hear myself. Is this self-aware? We're doing some old school pro wrestling horse shit. More specifically, we're actually doing some Jeff Jarrett mid 2000s TNA love letter shit. Is it self-aware enough to do this, as our pal here says, TNA finish at the fairgrounds? Like, is it that aware? Or is it a case of this is just the wrestling Billy Corgan likes? Like, he likes that overbooked nonsense. Because he's done this before on, I remember Trevor Murdoch and Aldis had a finish similar to this. So, is that what... Again, I'm not asking you guys this, because you don't know, but like... Is it a case of this is the wrestling Corgan, this is his ideal wrestling promotion? Or is it a case of this is what people want from the NWA, wrestling the way it used to be, wrestling the way you liked it? I don't know, because to me, if it's just like their read on how to work an audience in 2022, they are fucking insane. Which, to be clear, you probably didn't need this evidence anyway. But like, it's such a misread of where wrestling fans are at now that I have to kick around the idea that this might just be, this is the NWA, brother. It's what you asked for. I don't know. My guess is what you guys in the chat are saying, which is this is just what Corgan likes. Which, you know what? God bless him. It's his money, right? More power to you. You're going to really cap your audience having, guys go out there and do a 3 1/4 star match, maybe less, over 20 minutes for this finish. It's just, you ain't coming back next week, brother. You ain't trying to draw the same house next week. You're going to do another pay-per-view in 3 months, and people remember this stuff. Now, just be completely honest, none of you guys bought this show, and very few people in the world bought this show. I'd imagine people would be stunned at how low it was. I've never seen such little reaction to a national wrestling promotions pay-per-view. It was actually startling. I couldn't believe it. So the idea that you take that audience and then kick the shit out of them with this finish and then expect less people to come back for the next one, good luck. You get what you get, I suppose. It's tough, man. I believe, Franco, this was Dave Lagana, who was named in the Speaking Out movement, which ended his involvement in NWA. But I believe he's the guy that was booking both Power and Impact when Corgan was in charge. Yeah, I don't know what the situation here is. I can't fathom that many people are making money from this project anymore. And I'm not here to tell anyone that there's an easy fix, because I don't know there is an easy fix. I think this thing may have unfortunately, I think it may have reached its final stop on the ride. I think with Power, it had some shines of life and there was some interest, but I think COVID may have brought an end to kind of what was possible, what was hoped for Billy Corgan's time as the NWA president. Now, that doesn't mean he's about to sell it. That doesn't mean he's about to close it down. I don't know. What I do know is this is a very, very cold promotion, featuring the thinnest roster in the national kind of space. And there's just not a lot of positives here. I'm not, and here's the thing, guys. I say all this time, I'm not here telling you guys this was a terrible pay-per-view. I want to reiterate what I said about night one. There's a lot of competent wrestlers having fine matches. There were some good matches. It's not a case of, oh my God, it's so bad, it's good. It's just no one's watching it, and it isn't good enough to hook anyone that isn't already watching it. And that is a very toxic cycle that isn't going to get a promotion anywhere, unfortunately. So yeah, that's where I'm at on Crockett Cup. It was not a waste of my time. I didn't hate it, but it was a very, very clear reminder when you put the whole package together of where this promotion's at. And sometimes being in the bubble, I can lose sight of just kind of how far they've fallen, because this felt like a distance away from even like a Hard Times 2020. It really was striking in terms of atmosphere, in terms of reaction, so on and so forth. What else we got here? This is cool. Look, there's definitely things on the product that like I can see why someone would like it. Like, I'll be totally honest, you guys read Best of the Rest, which I don't promote a lot because it's more just for me. Like, it's a kind of a update on my own kind of watching. There's stuff on those shows I like, and the presentation pops me, and there's ideas that for me as an old school wrestling fan pop me. I'm not deluded. I'm very much aware of the situation they're in, and shows like this, unfortunately, only make it more clear. Now, I did want to quickly look at the YouTube numbers, because this was something I looked at the other day that really interests me. So this week they did Power Surge, which isn't full power, but they got 32,000 views. Okay, they uploaded Cardona and Trevor Murdoch, which was the title change match, and it got 8,000 views. Last week's Power got 65. The week before that got 46. Not particularly great numbers. Now, by comparison, if I pull up everyone's favorite wrestling promotion, the innovative MLW Fusion this week has already got 66,000. Last week has got 111,000. Now, how do I put this politely? I don't think I'm talking out of turn here. I do not see anyone on my timeline talk about MLW. Buddy Matthews wrestled there on Thursday. There was not one take to hit my timeline. No one talks about it. No one, you would not even know it existed if you just scrolled the general wrestling feed. They're doing better views, in some cases considerably so, than the NWA. And I don't think there's a reason for that I'm missing. NWA's been on that platform from before. I know they was off for a while because of the Fight TV deal, but they're back on now. I think that's probably telling, guys. And again, I'm not here to be a dick, but damn, MLW's beating them. I guess so. So that's all I've got on the National Wrestling Alliance. I wasn't too mean because I didn't have a terrible time watching this show, but you have to be honest. I want to quickly talk about this, and then we'll do a little bit on Code Man, and we'll do an hour as usual and wrap things up. So we'll do this question here. Andrew, I'll come back to that. That's a good question, pal. I want to quickly isolate this one because when we watched Crockett Cup Night 1, afterwards I was like, let's put on the Bud Matt match. And we kind of used that as our main event, de facto main event for the evening. And I kind of expected Buddy to beat Ren Narita in about 8 minutes in a really kind of, spirited match where he gave him a little bit and they went home. Folks, I'm not doing a bit when I tell you this. Go out your way to watch Buddy Matthews versus Ren Narita. The only strong match I would say is better than it this year is King and Gabriel Kidd. You could argue me on that front, honestly. I loved it that much. I thought it was better than Swerve and Jay White. I thought it was better than Jay White and Daniels, White and Lethal. They had an incredible match. It was like, it reminded me of a TV title match for yesteryear. Buddy is the kind of veteran who's been around and has the side advantage, getting increasingly frustrated with this fiery upstart who just won't give in. He won't give way. A simple story told perfectly. Buddy wrestled within himself and still looked spectacular because all of his stuff is so explosive and crisp and just technically spot on. And Ren Narita looked fabulous. They had one hell of a match. I'm not a star rating guy, but 4.25 range, I guess. It was damn good. I really do recommend it. If you're just a fan of AEW, you want to see more of Buddy. If you're a big Buddy fan, you got to see it because, it fucking ruled. So, big thumbs up on that one. What's the order of the big six promotions if you include GCW? It's very difficult because it depends what you kind of look at, right? Impact has far more of a kind of reach And being an Impact carries more weight than GCW in a wider sense. But GCW actually sells some tickets. I would still say Impact is free, probably. So you probably go WWE, AEW, Impact, GCW. I don't think you can actually rank Ring of Honor right now, Andrew. I know that's a cop out, but I just don't. They're in, they're on hiatus. Let's see what happens when they come back. When they come back, they should be free immediately, but we'll see. Impact, GCW. I guess Ring of Honor cannot be in the 6. GCW and then MLW and NWA probably is. I mean, I'm not locked in at the indie scene, but some of these promotions seem to be selling some tickets and stuff. So I don't know. That was a shitty answer. I'm sorry. We can make fun of Colt, but he's done a mostly good job with Fatu and Hammerstone. Absolutely, he has. Hammerstone and Davey Richards was one that I would also recommend going to, which was a really nice world title match they had. Hammerstone, look, he has his limitations, but he's a top guy and he's been pushed as such, as you said. And Jacob Fatu is just money, brother, money. MLW, for as many as it can be at times, has people you want to seek out. I would agree. Much better job of finding talent, I would say. MLW. God, I like that. Pop, fair. Yeah, Swerve and Jay was good, to be clear. I meant that very much as a compliment to this one. How does one watch New Japan Strong? So what you can do is, I'm going to answer this legally. So if you subscribe to New Japan World, you get Strong. But if you're not interested in that, I think it's like $7 or $8. You can buy like the month of Strong. So Rivals is the one they just did with this one. It's Rivals had Swerve versus Jay White, Buddy versus Ren Narita. There's a Daniel Garcia match next week. There was a Jonah Finjuice thing, I think, on the first week. And you get like that block of shows. If you wait until the next one, you pay that $8, you get the lineup they just taped last night that had Buddy, Eddie Kingston was on it, Jay White, Swerve. So you basically buy it in blocks. On Fight, you can do that. So there you go. What's your opinion on the AEW DDT partnership news? I'm not educated enough on the product to really give you a strong take on that, other than it's cool to see more kind of collaboration. Collaboration in professional wrestling. And obviously the King match with Yunakiyama is like, everyone's done that tweet already, so that's boring. But I honestly am not educated enough. I know they had a big time match this weekend that everyone was telling me what I should watch. I'm just way out of the loop, unfortunately. I got to change that, but I think it's cool because I like seeing that stuff. I think the fact that that's kind of rare in wrestling is dumb. Like, it should be so much more collaborative. It's such a nerdy, niche thing anyway, so that's just my take. Sorry, Andrew, I got you in the end. I realised you'd already left Ring of Honor, the King of Sports, out of this. Richard Holiday stuff is good. I like the way they've kind of established him as the heel, and I like they've given him an edge. It's nothing crazy, but it is good stuff. What else we got here? Bad Dude Team. I like his team with Jonah. They actually have a natural chemistry. And I think they're moving on from that because I think Shane's just going to team with Jonah. Shane Hayes, but it did pop me. Yes, Franco, I think the Jeff Jarrett thing is still on the table. They didn't go quite as far with it as I hoped, which is a shame. A real shame. Because that would have been a big victory for me, and I would have immediately posted the clip alongside the footage. I'm all for AEW guys work in Japan, whichever promotion it may be. I think it's just, there's some guys that just benefit from that, plain and simple. Trev, have you watched last week's Impact yet? I have not. I'm going to watch it probably today or tomorrow. Yeah, because it's the what's the streaming service called? I was subscribed to it before. Yeah. So, and Tokyo Joshi Pro is too, right? I think. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I don't know how the Noah thing would work with like New Japan either. I don't know. Because they just did something together for Wrestle Kingdom, but Cyberfight is the company. There you go. Who's your favorite young lion or your recent graduate? I'm just not. I haven't seen enough, man. I haven't. I need to watch more. With Strong, I'm being introduced to more of the guys that I've missed because I've been so out on New Japan the last couple of years. But If you like name them, I'd probably be able to give you a decent take on them, but I'm very lost on who's where in their progression. So, Wrestle Universe, yeah. Taz spoke about wanting Hook to go to Japan. Be good to see if they take. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I got the bundle. I did not buy the yearly deal. I didn't know there was a yearly deal, to be honest. So maybe I've been owned. So I've seen Yumura. I've seen a couple of times. He wrestled Buddy on the tapings. That'll be next week on Strong. So I'll get a better look there. And he's wrestled him and Garcia is next week. Him and Buddy was taped last night, I think, is how it worked. So there you go. I have been told the New Japan Cup is good, Reese. I just have yet to watch it. Right now, I'm really still trying to figure out, so I've been doing Best of the Rest now for about 3 months. And I want to get a good read on the American kind of national scene. And, and then I can kind of figure out what else I'm going to do. Because I like to do projects, And it has been fun, seeing some guys that I didn't know before, but I don't know if I'm going to do it for the whole year because that feels like it could be a waste of my time. I have actually got plans for a project, like when Ring of Honor gets TV or streaming, whatever. One of my project plans is NXT 2.0 and Ring of Honor, next to each other, because that kind of intrigues me. Depending on what Ring of Honor looks like, if it's developmental, then yes. If not, then you get what you get, I suppose. By the way, we were talking, Shoot and I, about Johnny Gargano being one of the guys for Ring of Honor, and we both popped ourselves huge. I mentioned it. If he isn't looking to travel a lot, and that thing is actually, taping at Universal, which I've seen kicked around, man, would that be interesting, Gargano is brand top guy. It'd be really interesting. I think TK might be trying to do a system like Cyberfight with him purchasing Ring of Honor as a separate entity. What I suspect will be under a single streaming service eventually. I agree. I actually think making that's been kind of a loose plan for a while. I think he sees the blueprint that WWE attempted and sees how it could be done. And kind of he's going to use that as an outline. I really believe that. How many patrons would it take for you to give Bob a pole driver into a public toilet? My God, man, probably 5,000. Because I'd have to get on a flight and shit. Or he'd have to get on one. Yeah, man, that'd be very challenging. It'd have to be enough patrons to make it feasible. Difficult. Okay, let's quickly talk about Code, man. I'll stop for questions and stuff because I like doing the chat stuff, but I did put in the title. I want to quickly just touch on this because we've kind of been covering it on FedDev, but not really. We did the immediate reaction, obviously, which was a big deal for us. It got a lot of views. Or how. PW Insider reported that he is signed with WWE. Deal was done. I think they actually said he signed about 10 days ago. Which, and I think you guys know this based on how I never really doubted he was coming in. I know there was some different reports, but it didn't really make sense to me. The Ring of Honor thing, I know why that popped people, but the money part of it and what he wants to do, I don't think makes sense. I don't know if he's debuting tonight, WrestleMania, or the Monday after. I've seen a whole lot of different talks about it. I don't know what's going on. All I know is it's confirmed the obvious that he's going there. And I'm just interested in this as a moment in time, right? The situation is fascinating because I do agree with the general sentiment of it's a big deal. It is a big deal. It absolutely is. Do I think it's a part of the story, though, that AEW has retooled the way they have? I do. People won't want to admit it, but it's the truth. There was a sense of concern among some of AEW's hardcore fans. And when you respond to that concern with one of the great pay-per-views in recent memory and about 12 signings of top talent, you're naturally going to kind of get that out of people's systems, And in the same time, while that's happened, WWE has kind of they've kind of reiterated everyone's concerns and criticisms of their product. people have lost interest even further. They've had shows that everyone thought sucked. They've done this, they've done that, and so on and so forth. So what happens is it's like the distance between the story breaking and it happening is just bad for the company. Now, if you got the pencil, you don't sweat that because you say, well, that's fine because we're going to shoot an angle with Cody when he's back. Or when he's in, I should say. Do I trust him to shoot an angle good enough to recapture the hype? No, I don't. And that gets me to my core point here. Quickly to answer because someone asked. I have not met any of the Grinners in person. Hopefully one day. That gets me to my core point here that was really something I kind of thought about. What makes Cody Rhodes so interesting is for all he's done and for his absolutely undeniable impact and significance, what makes Cody Rhodes interesting is there remains a debate about how good he actually is. And if you listen to my shows, you'll know that I think have been pretty positive about Cody as a performer. I've never, ever, ever agreed with the sentiment that he was and then the bell rang guy. I thought that was whole shit. Never liked that. Never agreed with it. But I definitely, if someone said to me, well, we're not going to pay him the money we're paying CM Punk or Bryan Danielson, I would say, damn right you shouldn't pay him that, So he's a top guy whose credibility and credentials as a top guy remains in question by some. There are some people that will tell you very sincerely they think he sucks. So, and then you combine it with the fact there was definitely some, there was definitely a belief that the product was better without him, which I don't think was misplaced, whether that was his fault or, the fault of his issues with creative. I don't know what happened, right? But he's a really fascinating case in that sense. When you strip away the hype and the momentum and the story and the background, all that stuff, when you make a signing, the question is, what is he bringing to your promotion? So, for example, CM Punk, what if I take away the Chicago love? What if I take away the 7-year absence? What if I take away the resentment of WWE and vice versa? And I just say you've signed CM Punk. Well, you sign one of the greatest storytellers in wrestling history, one of the great promos, and an all-time understanding of pace and selling and so on and so forth. With Cody, I can half go there with those, right? He's a good promo. Sometimes his content can be a mess. He's shown the ability to tell some great stories, but some of his stories have been scatterbrained and nonsense. He's had some great matches, but he's also had some matches in which he got mixed up on what he was trying to do, and they were a mess. Now, you could say that. Well, you can say about any wrestler, and that's fair. But I think it's a real thing with Cody. So I think the most interesting part about it is if you strip away the hype and all this stuff, and do they have the hype? Do they have the buzz? So on and so forth. Let's see what he does as a talent. Now, could he be hamstrung by creative? Absolutely, he could. But we will still be able to compare him to a Seth Rollins, to a Drew McIntyre, to a Kevin Owens. Let's see how he holds up. I haven't got any predictions on that front. If he wrestles Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, I'm pretty confident that'll be damn good. I don't have any doubt about that. But I think it's interesting. I really do think that's interesting. Now, to answer Andrew's question, because it's a good one. You said you think the crowd sucks. Are you going to watch Mania? I'll be honest, and this is completely transparent. I don't know. If we're doing immediate reviews and Jay Sheldon is not doing that or isn't watching live, then I will probably watch them live for content's sake. I'm not desperate to watch, but I'm also not doing any kind of hard stance. So I'm very much just, we'll see how it goes. I'm watching NXT, I'm watching Ring of Honor. The rest is very much dependent on what content we decide we're doing. I need to talk to Jay Sheldon about it because she has a whole schedule in regards to what that's going to look like. AEW's 2 weeks pay-per-views were both Cody-less, and it's been known to pop. Fair. Will Washington said it best to me. Cody is almost cartoonish in the ring, like a caricature himself. I think there's some truth to that for sure. I've enjoyed a lot of what he does in ring, but I do think there's some truth to that. The reality is he's a great pro wrestler. Cody's 6 years strength better than most ring. I think there's definitely some matches that are evidence to that, but there are some where he, I think, tries to put too much into one single piece. a friend of mine, who may or may not be in the chat, said it best, of takes fans through 4 years of wrestling in a 12-minute match. There's truth to that, and he can be a little bit muddled, I think, sometimes in his thought process. But I definitely don't agree with the sentiment. He sucks, but I do think it's an interesting part of his story. And this is the other thing. How useful are those skills in WWE with scripted promos and heavily agented matches? What does a Cody epic look like if it isn't allowed to be an epic, if there is no blood? Maybe it's better. I don't necessarily see that, but maybe it is better. The promos part's going to be fascinating because his content was fucking insane by the end of his AEW run. Maybe he is a guy there's actually going to be evidence he's better when guys are holding his hands and he's handcuffed. Or it's just that's the part that's interesting. And look, you guys know I'm not watching this closely. I watch the clip because I'm genuinely interested what it looks like. The AEW thing was such a unique set of circumstances, and for 6 months there, man, he was about as good a babyface as you get on the planet. So I ain't here to disparage the guy, but he last 18 months, a little bit less. There's been a lot of mixed results. It's been really interesting. He's probably going to win the world title in the first 6 months, lose it, then drop down the card a bit, the same position as Kevin Owens. That would be my guess too, Elliot. Absolutely. Almost spot on what I would say. I think he'll get that title win, and then that'll be used in response to every single criticism of what he does or doesn't do for the rest of his run. Well, he won the title, Cody's return hinges on the smart audience popping for him. WWE has mostly run most people off from attending shows, and any fan that remembers him will review him as a mid-carder. And that brings us to the other fascinating X factor of this whole thing, which is the crowd. Because I definitely agree with the sentiment. They've run off a lot of the fans that actually give a shit about anything AEW. I think there's been evidence there. Has this story got enough traction that it will overcome that? We'll find out when he comes out. If he comes out the Raw after Mania, there'll be no problem. But it'll be very, very interesting. WWE system doesn't play to Cody's strengths unless they book him right, give him some room what he can promote. Again, in theory, completely agree. But it would be interesting if the outcome was the opposite. If he actually benefited from the overcorrection and policing creatively, it would be interesting. Cody needed a better filter, and he will have that in WWE, but I don't think we've been given a reason to think the total package WWE will deliver is going to be good. I don't either. I think you'd have to be very, very generous to them to be optimistic about his run. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I think he will get a push, but their push is going to come with a whole lot of, asterisks and problems anyway. But it'll be interesting. I'm a bit Fed bias, and I think the card sucks. I think NXT card's better. It's a shame, man. I really do wish it was better. And I know every content creator you guys watch says that I wish it was good, but seriously, I wish it was just even vaguely interesting. It'd be a lot easier from a content perspective. Everything that makes Cody and incredibly appealing to me ain't loud in the field, which is hilarious. Fair. Owned. Also fair. What if Cody's WWE gimmick is anti-Fed, like Punk? So when he comes back to the fleet, he's a hero. That's what also interesting. Do you do that? Do you have him as do you have him as a baby face that hates the company, or do you have him as a heel that's trying to save WWE and they think that makes him a heel because the fans like WWE, but they actually cheer him? I haven't got a clue, brother. I don't know what you do with that. I don't know what the audience likes. I'm way out on the loop on that thing, but it'll be interesting. He was great in the first TNT run. You're right. So probably the last. Much of the last year, I would say, he was kind of a mess. He had great moments, but he was a mess for a lot of it. I read that. What else we got here? I feel like the true test of Cody will be how good he can be in spite of bad creative. That's what's separated the good from the average here. Yeah, and that's, those names I give of Owens and Rollins and Drew. I've had different takes on all of those, but it'll be interesting to compare them head to head with him. Fed fans don't care about Cody; they care about being able to have something try and hold over AEW fans' heads. Definitely true online, 100% online. In the crowd, I have no clue what that crowd does with him. Especially if it's just a random week, which I don't think it will be. I think it'll be Mania weekend and Raw. So, the general WWE crowd genuinely fascinates me, man. They react to some shit that's, I don't know, man. It's interesting. Really is. Joe, be real. What percentage of people in wrestling media would still be watching the Fed as a fan if they weren't paid to do it? I think you and I both would be surprised at the taste of some folks in wrestling media. And that's not me meaning that in a spiteful way. I watch the fucking Crockett Cup, so I'm not hating on anyone. I personally do not enjoy watching WWE product, but my fandom is very unique in that I sometimes felt like my investment was getting the shit kicked out of it. Now, for some, I actually, and this, look, maybe this is contra, I don't know. I mean, there are people in wrestling media that have really only watched WWE style wrestling. And so, therefore, the idea of not watching it, whether paid or not, is kind of nuts to them. Everything else they watch is like a bonus or like a side order, side dish. So, I think you'd be surprised in terms of people that you see on come on these shows or that I talk to. Then, yeah, probably very, very low percentage. But you know, for some, it's just what they watch. It's the major leagues. People love that comp, right? It's the major leagues. You know, it's wrestling's NBA, NFL. I think that's bullshit because I don't think of it that way. But there you go. Yeah, I'm sorry. I use fascinate. That's a shoot thing, man. Shoot says fascinate, and I've just stolen it. I'm sure it's fine. Okay, what else we got here? As we slow down, I think Ben he will get a title run within the initial push. It will just be one that's very, very divisive, and people will debate whether it was actually good. Big part if he ends up getting booed in the Fed too. He may, man. They may bring him in as a heel, and the crowd may just boo him. Exactly this. The crowd's really aren't reacting to most of the teasers. It's going to be interesting. And I remember the one, I think I said it on the Grin on Friday. I remember the one when Edge referenced Punk's line about MJF, and the crowd didn't do anything. It's just really, it's bizarre. It's like, and the example I've used before, and I'll use it again because it's interesting to me, is like that segment where Alexa gave Charlotte her own doll and the place was like popping and fucking, they were like opening it, they were chanting. It's like, bro, this is, I don't know who these people are. Sometimes there aren't many of them. Sometimes they struggle at Celtics. Other times they have a decent sized arena and it's just people that are, kids, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. Like if it's mostly kids and shit and Code Man walking out to silence, it will be really, really interesting. I have been on for 58 minutes. I'll be on for about another 2. What chance that Code Man beats Roman? Dude, that would be fucking hilarious. That would be one of the funniest things in wrestling history. Genuinely. I don't care what side of the tribalism you're on, what team you're rooting for, you should pop for that regardless, because that's just art. There's no way. Surely not. Just from a political point of view, surely not. Seth Rollins, I think he will be beating, which is even funnier in some ways. But yeah, it's interesting, man. Old Code, man. God bless him. He's certainly not boring. If he beats Roman again, I'll never slander the Fed again. There you go. Crowd loves Brock, Roman, Boogs. Oh, Rick Boogs and Drew. Yes. I was saying Boogs. I was like, how you doing, man? Look, man, the SmackDown crowd was pretty hot on Friday because I watched the women's tag. I did like that quite a bit. SmackDown crowds seem very different to Raw crowds, which is a pop. Friday night, I guess. Heel Cody and face Orton is a program I genuinely want to see. Either way around, I think that'd be good. I actually prefer it that way too, though, Cody. I think that'd be good. I think that will probably be his actual best program in terms of content. But I like Randy a lot more than a lot of you guys, so it is what it is. Cody beats Roman and in 3 years comes back to AEW to say he's been acknowledged in the welcome back promo. That promo is going to be great when he comes back and he just like references everyone else's catchphrases, I slayed an architect, so I was acknowledged, and I was destroyed by a beast. Fucking incredible. And like the Fleet fans like pumping their fists and stuff. Anyway, this has been fun. Little Monday show. I think I'm going to do an hour, guys. I've said this before, but I think after Mania, maybe when it happens, I think I'm going to do this each day early, almost like morning radio, like a British Colin Cowherd. owned. Just an hour of talking shop with you guys in the chat and just generally what's been going on. It'll be loose, but we had some to talk about today, but not too much. But general topics, but also kind of Q&A format. I think that's something I'm going to plan on locking into the daily schedule at some point here. Tonight, we're doing a Grin along. I do not know yet how you guys want to do this. So I want to promote the Grin Grappler I was going to do like bonus matches that didn't make the cut for Joe. However, what we could do is the CM Punk 1 hour draw. I do not mind. I'm going to ask the chat when I get there tonight. We're probably going to do that at about 10:30 British time, which is 6:30 p.m. Eastern time right now. So we're gonna have some fun with that tonight as a Grin along for the patrons, because I want to do more for the folks at Patreon. LateNightGrin.com. You can start with just $1. Last week we did a Mox Grin along, which went about 2 hours. So we'll be doing that before Raw. There is no Fed there because Bobby forgot to watch the Fed. Tomorrow, LateNightGrin.com, both Patreon. We're going to do TW Tuesday. We're booking the pay-per-view card. If you've fallen off on that series because I stopped doing it every week because I'm a dumb fuck, you can come back in for the pay-per-view. It'll be a lot of fun. We're also doing TW Tuesday in the evening. No, I just said that. We're also doing the AEW Dark Watch Along in the evening with Shoot, Bobby, and myself. Wednesday, Dynamite Preview, Dynamite Review. And then I think Historical Horror was best week. Lots going on. Next week is going to be nuts. I don't know what that looks like yet, to be quite honest with you. Mania content. It's going to be crazy. Support my guys doing features at WrestlePurist.com. We've got some really cool ones coming up. There's one that's particularly, when you see the headline, you'll know it popped me. Lots happening. Biggest one, what you all remember, though, next Monday, Grin Grappler, Samoa Joe, 6 matches. Necro Butcher, Kento Kobashi, Austin Aries, Kurt Angle, Finn Balor, AJ Styles. Watch those, don't watch those, listen to us talk about them. I'm really looking to make that Grin Grappler thing a special show each month. So lots to look forward to. But in the meantime, enjoy this outro.